The backup dancer hit the floor hard. One moment, she was mid-choreography, rehearsing Beyoncé's Super Bowl LVII halftime show on the actual stadium field, 3 hours before 115 million people would watch the biggest television event in America, and the next moment she was down, flat on her back, not moving, eyes rolled back, cardiac arrest. Maria Rodriguez was 30 feet away, standing at the medical station near the tunnel entrance, wearing an EMT contractor vest and watching the rehearsal. She was 38 years old, former Army captain, combat medic who'd spent 3 years in Fallujah saving soldiers' lives under mortar fire. And she recognized what she was seeing instantly. Sudden collapse. No protective reflex. Seizure-like movements. This was Ashley Martinez, 24 years old, one of Beyoncé's backup dancers. And she was dying. Maria was moving before anyone else processed what had happened. Stop! Maria's voice cut across the field as she sprinted toward the fallen dancer. Medical emergency. Clear the area. The event coordinator, Robert Chen, 45, clipboard in hand, headset on, managing a production with a budget in the tens of millions, intercepted her halfway. Wait, he said, holding up one hand. We need to follow protocol. Paramedics are on standby in the medical bay. We can't have unauthorized personnel. She's in cardiac arrest, Maria said, not stopping. If we wait for paramedics, she'll be dead in 4 minutes. Move. Robert grabbed Maria's arm. I can't authorize you to treat her. Liability issues. We have protocols. The paramedics are trained for this venue. Maria pulled free, her voice sharp with urgency. I don't need your authorization. I'm a medic. And she's dying. She pushed past him and dropped to her knees beside Ashley. No pulse at the carotid artery. No chest rise. Lips already turning cyanotic, blue from lack of oxygen. Classic sudden cardiac arrest, probably an undiagnosed congenital heart condition triggered by the physical exertion of rehearsal. Maria's training took over. The same training that had saved 63 soldiers in Fallujah, Iraq, from 2007 to 2009. The same hands that had performed CPR under mortar fire, treated gunshot wounds in moving vehicles, kept men alive when everything said they should die. Someone call 911. Maria shouted to the frozen crew around her. State cardiac arrest. Female, 24, unconscious and not breathing. And get me an AED, automated external defibrillator, now. She positioned her hands on Ashley's sternum, 2 fingers above the xiphoid process, exactly where combat medic training had taught her 15 years ago. Started compressions, hard and fast, pushing 2 inches deep, 100 compressions per minute. The rhythm was automatic. Behind her, Robert was shouting into his headset. We have an unauthorized medical intervention on the field. I need security. 30 feet away, Beyoncé stopped mid-conversation with her choreographer. She'd seen the dancer collapse. Seen the coordinator trying to stop the EMT. Seen the EMT ignore him completely and start CPR with the kind of professional certainty that made Beyoncé's instincts scream. This woman knows exactly what she's doing. Beyoncé started walking toward them. Maria counted compressions in her head. 30. Stop. Tilt Ashley's head back. Lift her chin. Seal her mouth over Ashley's. Give 2 rescue breaths. Watch for chest rise. Resume compressions. Sweat ran down Maria's face. Her arms burned. CPR is exhausting, physically demanding, but you don't stop until the heart restarts or someone more qualified takes over. In Fallujah, Maria had done CPR for 20 minutes straight on a soldier with a sucking chest wound. She could do this. Where's the AED? She shouted. A crew member ran up with the red and white case. Maria ripped it open, pulled out the pads, tore open Ashley's shirt, placed the pads on her chest, one below the right collarbone, one on the left side below the armpit. The AED powered on automatically. Analyzing rhythm, the electronic voice said, "Do not touch patient." Maria sat back. Everyone froze. The AED beeped. Shock advised. Charging. Stand clear. Clear, Maria shouted, making sure no one was touching Ashley. The AED delivered the shock. Ashley's body convulsed. Maria immediately resumed compressions. 30 more. 2 breaths. 30 more. Come on, Maria whispered. Come on, Ashley. Not today. You don't die today. And then Beyoncé was kneeling beside her. What do you need? Beyoncé asked, her voice calm but urgent. Keep people back, Maria said, not stopping compressions. Paramedics should be here any second. And tell that coordinator to shut up so I can focus. Beyoncé looked up at Robert, who was still on his headset arguing about protocols. Robert, stop talking. Let her work. The authority in Beyoncé's voice was absolute. Robert went quiet. At the 2-minute mark, the AD analyzed again. Shock advised. Maria cleared everyone. The second shock hit. Ashley gasped. Her chest rose on its own. The AD beeped. Pulse detected. Ashley's eyes fluttered open. She was breathing. Confused, scared, but alive. Maria slumped back on her heels, hands shaking from adrenaline. You're okay, she said to Ashley. You're okay. You had a cardiac episode. Paramedics are coming. Just breathe. Sirens wailed outside the stadium. The paramedics burst onto the field with a stretcher, defibrillator, full emergency kit. Maria gave them a rapid brief. 24-year-old female witnessed cardiac arrest. For minutes CPR, 2 AED shocks, ROSC achieved. Return of spontaneous circulation, medical term for a restarted heart. The paramedics took over. Loaded Ashley onto the stretcher. Started in 4. She was stable. She was going to make it. Maria stood up slowly, legs shaking. And that's when she realized 100 people were staring at her. Dancers, crew, production staff, security, and Beyoncé. 20 minutes later, after the ambulance left, after the rehearsal was postponed, after Robert had quietly disappeared to deal with the crisis management fallout, Beyoncé found Maria sitting alone on the stadium field near the 50-yard line. Maria was still wearing her EMT vest, hands still trembling slightly, staring at nothing. The adrenaline crash was hitting. It always did after saving a life. Even after 63 times in Iraq, the body still reacted. Beyoncé sat down on the turf next to her, right there on the field. No entourage, no cameras, just 2 women. You saved her life, Beyoncé said quietly. Maria nodded, not trusting her voice. That coordinator, Robert, he told you to wait. To not touch her. Yes. But you did it anyway. Maria finally looked at Beyoncé. Ma'am, I'm a medic. When someone's dying in front of me, I don't wait for permission. I save them. Beyoncé studied her face. Where did you learn to do that? That calm. That certainty. That's not just EMT training. Maria took a breath. Army. Combat medic. Fallujah, Iraq, 2007 to 2009. 3 deployments. I ran a trauma station at a forward operating base. Soldiers came in from firefights, IED attacks, sniper wounds. I kept them alive long enough to get to field hospitals. How many? 63 casualties came through my station. All 63 lived. Beyoncé went completely still. All of them. All of them. I did CPR on 7. 3 had cardiac arrests from blood loss. They all lived because I didn't wait. I didn't ask permission. I just saved them. There was a long silence. Then Beyoncé asked, why are you working as a $28 an hour event medical contractor? Maria's laugh was bitter. Because when I came home in 2009, nobody was hiring combat medics. Hospitals wanted civilian experience. EMT services wanted people without PTSD. The VA couldn't place me. So I take contract work. Concerts. Sporting events. Anywhere that needs medical standby. And today, someone tried to stop you from doing what you were trained to do. Liability. I understand. If I'd touched her and she died, the event could be sued. Robert was protecting the production. He was protecting the wrong thing, Beyoncé said firmly. 15 years earlier, Captain Maria Rodriguez was a very different person in a very different place. August 14, 2008. Forward Operating Base Reaper, Fallujah, Iraq. 1,430 hours. Maria was in the trauma bay, a fortified tent with medical equipment, supplies, and the constant background noise of generators and distant explosions. The radio crackled, medevac inbound. Complex ambush. 5 vehicles hit. 14 casualties. ETA 2 minutes. Maria's team scrambled. 14 wounded. That was more than they'd handled at once before. She started prioritizing, set up triage areas, prepped 4 stations, grabbed the crash cart. The first Humvee roared through the gate. Soldiers carried in their brothers, some walking wounded, some on stretchers, some unconscious. Blood everywhere. The smell of burnt flesh and gunpowder. Gunshot wound to chest, someone shouted. Maria ran to the soldier, Private First Class James Wilson, 19 years old, sucking chest wound, struggling to breathe. She sealed the wound, started in 4, called for blood, kept him breathing. Traumatic amputation, left leg. Specialist Rodriguez, no relation, 22 years old, left leg gone below the knee from an IED blast. Maria applied tourniquet, started fluids, monitored for shock. And they kept coming. Shrapnel wounds, burns, blast injuries, fractures, one after another. At 1,520 hours, 50 minutes into the mass casualty event, Sergeant Marcus Thompson went into cardiac arrest. Blood loss. Maria started CPR while simultaneously directing treatment for 3 other critical patients. Mortar rounds started hitting the base. Explosions outside the trauma tent. Enemy fighters had followed the wounded back to the FOB. Incoming, someone screamed. Maria didn't stop CPR. Keep working, she shouted to her team. We don't stop. She compressed Marcus's chest. 30 compressions. 2 breaths. The tent shook from nearby explosions. Dust rained from the ceiling. Medical supplies fell from shelves. Maria didn't stop. After 4 minutes, Marcus gasped. Pulse returned. He lived. By 1800 hours, 4 hours after the first casualty arrived, all 14 soldiers were stable. All 14 lived. 0 Kia. And Maria Rodriguez received the Silver Star for gallantry in action, for saving 14 lives under enemy fire, for refusing to let anyone die. I've seen people die, Maria said to Beyoncé, still sitting on the Super Bowl field. I've held soldiers while they bled out. Watched boys, 19, 20 years old, take their last breaths. I carry their names. I carry their faces. Her voice broke. So when I see someone I can save, someone dying right in front of me, I don't care about authorization. I don't care about liability. I don't care about protocols. I save them. Because I couldn't save all of them in Iraq, but I can damn sure save the ones in front of me now. Beyoncé was quiet for a long moment. Then, what's your full name? Captain Maria Elena Rodriguez. U.S. Army, retired. Maria, I need to ask you something. Tonight, I'm performing for 115 million people. It's the biggest moment of my career this year. And I want you there. Backstage. Not as a contractor. As my guest. Will you come? Maria looked at her, stunned. Ma'am, And when I perform, Beyoncé continued, I'm going to tell people what you did today. And what you did in Iraq. Because the world needs to know who you are. 115 million people were watching. Beyoncé stood on the State Farm Stadium field. The same field where, 5 hours earlier, Maria Rodriguez had saved Ashley Martinez's life. And she was about to perform 13 minutes that would be dissected, analyzed, and remembered for years. But first, she went off script. Before I begin, Beyoncé said, her voice carried by the stadium sound system to 70,000 live fans and 115 million television viewers. I need to tell you about something that happened today. The crowd quieted. Producers in the broadcast booth panicked. This wasn't in the rundown. This afternoon, during rehearsal, one of my dancers collapsed. Cardiac arrest. She was dying. And an EMT contractor who was working the event, a woman named Captain Maria Rodriguez, saved her life. Beyoncé gestured to the sideline. Maria, can you come here? Maria, wearing the same EMT vest from earlier, walked onto the biggest stage in sports. 70,000 people in the stadium. 115 million watching on TV. She was terrified. Beyoncé put her arm around Maria's shoulders. Maria is a U.S. Army combat medic. She served 3 tours in Fallujah, Iraq, from 2007 to 2009. She saved 63 soldiers' lives. All 63 survived. And she received the Silver Star for saving 14 men under enemy fire during a 4-hour firefight. The stadium erupted. Cheering. Screaming. A standing ovation for a woman most of them had never heard of. Today, Beyoncé continued. An event coordinator told Maria to wait for paramedics. Told her she wasn't authorized to treat my dancer. And Maria ignored him. Because Maria is a medic. And medics don't wait for authorization to save lives. Beyoncé looked directly into the camera. Ashley Martinez, the dancer Maria saved, is alive tonight. She's in the hospital, stable, going to make a full recovery. Because a hero refused to follow a bad order. She turned to Maria. Thank you. For your service in Iraq. And for saving Ashley. You are why we're performing tonight. The crowd roared. Maria was crying. Beyoncé hugged her, and the cameras caught every second. Then Beyoncé performed, and it was transcendent. Within an hour, hashtag Captain Maria Rodriguez was trending worldwide. By midnight, Maria's story was on every news network. By morning, the VA called offering her a full-time position training combat medics. By the end of the week, Beyoncé had hired her as the medical director for her entire Renaissance World Tour. But the moment Maria would remember forever happened the next day, when she visited Ashley in the hospital. Ashley was sitting up in bed, monitors beeping, healthy color returned to her face. Her family was there, parents, siblings, all crying with relief. "You saved my life," Ashley said when Maria walked in. Maria shook her head. "I did my job." "No," Ashley's mother said, standing up, walking to Maria, hugging her tightly. "You saved our daughter. That coordinator told you to wait. You could have been fired. You could have been sued. But you saved her anyway." She pulled back, tears streaming. "Thank you. Thank you for being brave enough to do the right thing." 6 months later, Maria Rodriguez stood backstage at another concert, this time the Renaissance World Tour, London. She was the medical director now, overseeing a team of medics, making sure every show was safe. And on her jacket, next to her medical credentials, she still wore the small silver star pin. A young medic on her team asked about it once. "What did you do to earn that?" Maria thought about Fallujah, about the 14 soldiers, about 4 hours under mortar fire, about Marcus Thompson's heart stopping and Maria refusing to let him die. And she thought about Ashley Martinez, about a Super Bowl rehearsal, about an event coordinator who tried to stop her, about Beyoncé asking, "Where did you learn to do that?" "I learned that some things are more important than authorization," Maria said. "When someone's dying in front of you, you don't wait for permission. You don't worry about liability. You don't follow protocols that cost lives. You save them. That's what medics do." The young medic nodded, understanding. And Maria went back to work, protecting people, saving lives, being the person she'd been trained to be in the deserts of Iraq, the person who refused to let anyone die if she could prevent it. Because Captain Maria Rodriguez had learned something in Fallujah that she carried forever. Authorization is worthless if the person you're supposed to save is dead. Sometimes the most heroic thing you can do is ignore the people telling you to wait and save the life right in front of you. Even if it costs you everything. Even if it means breaking rules. Even if it means standing on a Super Bowl field in front of 115 million people, having Beyoncé tell your story, and realizing that all 64 lives you saved, 63 in Iraq, 1 in Phoenix, mattered more than any protocol ever could. Maria Rodriguez's story reminds us, when expertise meets emergency, listen to the expert, not the clipboard. When someone says, "Wait for authorization," while a person is dying, ignore them. And when a combat medic tells you someone needs help, get out of her way and let her save lives. Because that's what heroes do. They don't wait. They act. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe to Empowering Stories to honor our veterans. Have you ever had to break a rule to do the right thing? Share your experience in the comments. Remember, the protocol might say wait. The hero says save them now. Honor our combat medics. Trust their expertise.